Hello. I failed at streaming outside today, so I'm here in my room. I'm not sure what I want to talk about today. Maybe talking about the same things that I was talking about the other day, or continuing on that thread or something like that, is interesting. Maybe not. I don't know. Today, the thing I had planned for today yesterday was this. So I accidentally pressed the emergency button as I went to uni and triggered an emergency call. Wait, what emergency button? Like in the train or something? It still says so on the elevator. Oh, on the elevator. Interesting. I think people must trigger. Like, I wonder what the ratio of actual emergency calls versus just people trolling or people accidentally pressing something is, right? So I assume that it must be like 50-50, right? That the people listening at the emergency calls are like, oh, okay, we understand, it was just a mistake, no worries, something like that, right? Like there is a step before sending someone. Like if you call and are like, I'm trapped in the elevator, they're like, okay, calm down, blah, 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 right? But if you are like, oh, sorry, they are like, okay, like not there is no one coming to you at the moment, right? I assume that's how it goes. It says you have to press it for 3 seconds, but you only touched it. Oops. Fuck. That's interesting. My throat is bad. Not sure why. I thought it was because of the concert, but I think in the concert or after the concert, in the days after, I must have caught some kind of cold or virus or something, and yeah, that's why I sound strange. I was like, no, wait, it was a mistake, but I had no time since I need to get to uni, so I just left. Makes sense. Today I went for a small walk. Had planned, I carried a bottle of water, had a comic book, and I was like, fuck it, I'm going to stream outside today. But then I realized that, yeah, because I have the new phone, well, not my new phone, it's the phone that my friend lent me. But the battery on this one actually works. So even though the camera quality is probably a little bit worse, the other one was bad. So this one is a little bit worse probably. But the battery works. So I was planning to stream outside, as I said some days ago. But on this phone, I'm not logged in the Google account that I'm logged in on YouTube here of my main channel. So I tried to log in, but I don't know the password because it's in a password manager. But the fucking password manager that I use doesn't let you have the passwords in both devices because they put that as a feature of the premium plan. So I was like, fuck, and I returned home and yeah, started streaming like usual. So tomorrow, I'm not sure if I will either stream outside probably, or I may not stream and go to the cinema because there is a movie I want to watch. This movie. Yeah, I saw this article on Twitter. Richard Linklater's she's the killer inside us all. Fuck. And yeah, the movie is called Hitman. Apparently, it's from a year ago or something like that. But it's on the cinema right now. I saw, so I was like, fuck it, let's watch it. But I don't know, I don't like the cinema. To use like the really secure ones you can't remember in lifetime. Yeah, I used the really secure ones, right? Like the random letters and numbers and all that shit. New York Times. Yeah, I haven't read the article, but let's see, is it paid world? Oh, it isn't. But yeah, I wanted to check the movie out because I like his movies a lot. Before Sunrise, Boyhood is good. This Time Confused was strange. But yeah, in general, I like his movies a lot. The Before trilogy in general. So I was like, fuck it, let's check this out. But I don't know. I'm feeling with my throat, like my throat is sore. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure if I want to. I don't know. It's not really risking anything, right? It's just literally just going to the cinema. But I don't know. It's probably risking it more, going out, like walking and finding a place to stream outside and sitting in the air and in the sun and all that. Let's check the weather. Actually, tomorrow it's still cloudy. But it's hotter than today. I heard someone that you can think of a long sentence, use only the first letters, and then change some things like S equals 5, so on. And then you have to remember the sentence and then obvious replacements. Yeah, I heard also of like a way to create like long passwords, right? Is to use, I don't know, like funny images or something like that, right? Like the horse riding, I don't know, the camel riding a horse or something like this. And then it's like the three camel riding, like it gets to like 16 characters very quickly, right? So but yeah, let's see at what time. The movie is at 6:30, so I could even stream a little bit early. Maybe I can do both, actually. Lol, I could even watch it today if I wanted to. 6:30, but I'm not going to watch it today because my dad already has dinner prepared. So maybe tomorrow I will stream earlier. I will log in on my phone, then stream earlier. And yeah, yesterday I watched a movie with my mom. It was called La Casa, so the house. And it's about some guy's house. Well, they are three siblings, and they like inherit the house and they are planning to sell it, but the house, they go there and it brings memories, and it's about that. And it's based on a comic book that my mom really likes, the author, and I read the comic book as well today. It was a nice comic book. It's by this guy, Paco Roca. Because she went to like a... It's a book signing. A book signing. Look. Das von Paco Roca illustrierte Werk hat es leider noch nicht auf den deutschen Markt geschafft. So apparently it's not in the German market, right? 500,000 euros after 5 weeks in pictures. I watched it yesterday, so... She went to this book signing, I think. So yeah, that's what I did yesterday. Those are the plans for tomorrow. Well, not the plans, but the ideas that I have for tomorrow. And for today, I wanted to do this. I wanted to apply to a job, and I gave a couple of reasons why. But I don't know, I'm not feeling particularly enthusiastic, to be honest, about applying to stuff. But I don't know, I may do it sometime, and I have a couple of ideas for an interview that I want to make for the podcast. But yeah, I don't think she will, to be honest. I'm not sure if she will reply. But yeah, I'm thinking that doing these kind of applications, I don't know, it doesn't feel right. It feels like I'm just going to keep getting ignored, right? I don't know, on the one hand, there is the classic saying of like persevere, 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 right? But on the other hand, I feel like I should work smarter, to be honest. That my success relies on being smarter. And smarter sometimes, I don't know, for that I was thinking, right, of my successes. And I was thinking, how did I get jobs? The video editing trial that I got, the Shane one, I got it through Universe, a girl on Twitter, tagging me in it. That I think that played a part. That was one. Then Cat's thing, it was because I joined the Discord, right? So I saw it and I think I left a couple of comments here and there. So I don't know. That got me in there in the radar or whatever. And Visa's thing was because I left a lot of YouTube comments. So I think I should play that angle, but I don't know. The problem is that I don't know how to force that, right? I don't know how to work harder at that. I recently watched all the videos of XKCD's What If. I have a book of them and I like the way they look at the what if questions. Not that I want to distract you with stuff you would probably rather do than apply to a job. I have that book as well. Right now my brother has it, but I think I bought it. I don't know. I'm not sure what videos you mean though. What up? What happened during outside stream? I didn't actually stream outside. Because my phone didn't have the login, the core. The right things, the right Google account. Oh, he makes videos. Holy fuck, they have so many views. What the hell? Neptune Studios LLC. Whoa. By the Minute Physics people.
This is a question from Hunter, who asks, what if you ignored all the rules of car racing and had a contest which was simply to get a human being around a track 200 times as fast as possible? What strategy would win? Let's say the racer has to survive. So regardless of strategy, it turns out that the best you'll be able to do is about 90 minutes. There are lots of ways you could build your vehicle: an electric car, a rocket sled, or a carriage that runs along a rail like a roller coaster. But in each case, it's pretty easy to develop the design to the point where the human is the weakest part. The problem is acceleration. On the curved parts of the track, drivers will feel powerful G-forces. The Daytona Speedway in Florida has 2 main curves, and if the vehicles go around them too fast, the drivers will die from the acceleration alone. For extremely brief periods, such as during car accidents, people can experience hundreds of Gs and survive. 1 G is the pull you feel when you're standing on the ground under Earth's gravity. Fighter pilots can experience up to 10 Gs during maneuvers, and, perhaps because of that, 10 Gs is often used as a rough limit for what people can handle. However, fighter pilots only experience 10 Gs very briefly. Our driver would be experiencing them in pulses for minutes and probably hours. There's a good NASA document on the physical effects of acceleration, and the data shows that for periods on the order of an hour, normal humans can only handle 3 to 6 Gs of acceleration. If we limit our vehicle to 4 Gs, its top speed on the turns at Daytona will be about 240 miles per hour. At this speed, the course will take about 2 hours to complete, which is definitely faster than anyone has driven in an actual car, but not even by an hour. But wait, we forgot about the straightaways. We could accelerate the vehicle up to a higher speed while on straight segments, and then decelerate it back down when approaching curves. This would help the car go around the track in less time, and conveniently result in a situation where the driver can be kept at a relatively constant magnitude of acceleration through the whole trip. It would be more like experiencing the constant, stronger pull of gravity on a heavy planet rather than the jerky acceleration of an overpowered roller coaster. Keep in mind that the direction of the acceleration would keep changing depending on whether the vehicle is going around a curve or speeding up or slowing down. Every direction of acceleration has its particular consequences, but humans can survive acceleration best if they're accelerated in the direction of their chest, like a driver accelerating forward. The body is least capable of being accelerated downward toward the feet, which causes blood to pile up in the head. So to keep our driver alive, we'll need to swivel them around so they're always being pressed against their back. If limited to 4 Gs in this way, our driver will finish the course in a little under an hour and 45 minutes. In comparison, the fastest modern Daytona race cars take about 3 hours to finish the 200 laps. If we raise the limit to 6 Gs, the time drops to an hour and 20 minutes. At 10 Gs continuously, well past human tolerability, it would still take over an hour. It would also involve breaking the sound barrier on the backstretch. So, barring dubious concepts like liquid breathing to counteract the effects of continual exposure to high G-forces, human biology limits us to Daytona finishing times over an hour. But what if we drop the survive requirement? How fast can we get the vehicle to go around the track? Well, let's imagine a vehicle attached with Kevlar straps to a pivot in the center of a similarly sized circular track. In effect, this is a giant centrifuge. This lets us apply one of my favorite weird equations, which says that the edge of a spinning disk can't go faster than the square root of the specific strength of the material it's made of, or it'll tear itself apart. For strong materials like Kevlar, this speed is 1 to 2 kilometers per second. At those speeds, a capsule could conceivably finish the race in about 10 minutes, although definitely not with a living driver inside. Okay, forget the centrifuge. What if we build a chute like a bobsled course and send a ball bearing rocketing down it? Sadly, the disk equation strikes again. The ball bearing can't roll faster than a couple of kilometers per second, or it will be spinning too fast and it will also tear itself apart. What if we make it slide? Diamond is one of the toughest materials, so we could imagine a diamond capsule sliding along a smooth diamond chute. Since it doesn't need to rotate, it could potentially survive stronger acceleration than a rolling ball bearing. However, the sliding would result in substantially more friction than the ball bearing example, and our diamond might catch fire. To defeat friction, we could levitate the capsule with magnetic fields and make it progressively smaller and lighter to accelerate and steer it more easily. Oops, we've accidentally built a particle accelerator. And while it doesn't exactly fit the criteria in Hunter's question, a particle accelerator makes for a neat comparison. The particles in the Large Hadron Collider's beam go very close to the speed of light. At that speed, they complete 500 miles in 2.7 milliseconds. Wikipedia lists about 850 motor racing tracks. The LHC beam could run the equivalent of a full Daytona 500 on each of those 850 tracks, one after another, in about 2 seconds, before the drivers had made it to the first turn. And that's really as fast as you can go.
That's funny. Let's race electrons. Oh yeah, this is the channel, by the way. I like the baseball one, but I already read it before. Let's see. I don't know why it does this, by the way. Now when I like a video, the button disappears.
This question comes from Ellen, who asks, what would happen if you tried to hit a baseball pitched at 90% the speed of light? Let's set aside the question of how we got the baseball moving that fast. We'll suppose that it's a normal pitch, except in the instant the pitcher releases the ball, it magically accelerates to 0.9 c. From that point onward, everything proceeds according to normal physics. And what proceeds turns out to be a lot of things, and they all happen very quickly, and it doesn't end well for the batter, or the pitcher. What follows is my best guess at a nanosecond by nanosecond portrait. The ball is going so fast that everything else is practically stationary. Even the molecules in the air are stationary. Air molecules vibrate back and forth at a few hundred miles per hour, but the ball is moving through them at 600 million miles per hour. This means that as far as the ball is concerned, they're just hanging there frozen. The ideas of aerodynamics don't apply here. Normally, air would flow around anything moving through it, but the air molecules in front of this ball don't have time to be jostled out of the way. The ball smacks into them so hard that the atomic nuclei in the air molecules actually fuse with the atomic nuclei in the ball. Each collision releases a burst of gamma rays and scattered subatomic particles. These gamma rays and debris expand outward in a bubble centered around the pitcher's mound. They start to tear apart the molecules in the air, ripping electrons from nuclei and turning the air in the stadium into an expanding bubble of incandescent plasma. The surface of the bubble approaches the batter at about the speed of light, only slightly ahead of the ball itself. The constant fusion at the front of the ball pushes back on it, slowing it down, as if the ball were a rocket flying tail first while firing nuclear fusion engines. Unfortunately, the ball is going so fast that even the tremendous force from this ongoing thermonuclear explosion barely slows it down at all. It does, however, start to eat away at the surface, blasting tiny particulate fragments of the ball in all directions. These fragments are going so fast that when they hit air molecules, they trigger 2 or 3 more rounds of fusion. After about 60 nanoseconds, the shell of X-rays arrives at home plate, and a handful of nanoseconds later, the ball hits. The batter hasn't even seen the pitcher let go of the ball, since the light carrying that information arrives at about the same time as the shockwave. Collisions with the air have eaten the ball away almost completely, and it is now a bullet-shaped cloud of expanding plasma, mainly carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, and nitrogen, ramming into the air and triggering more fusion as it goes. When it reaches the batter, the center of the
The sound effects are great.
cloud is still moving at an appreciable fraction of the speed of light. It hits the bat first, but then the batter, plate, and catcher are all scooped up and carried backward through the backstop as they disintegrate. The shell of X-rays and superheated plasma expands outward and upward, swallowing the backstop, both teams, the stands, and the surrounding neighborhood, all in the first microsecond. Suppose you're watching from a hilltop outside the city. The first thing you see is a blinding flash far outshining the sun. This gradually fades over the course of a few seconds, and a growing fireball rises into a mushroom cloud. Then, with a great roar, the blast wave arrives, tearing up trees and shredding houses. Everything within roughly a mile of the park is leveled, and a firestorm engulfs the surrounding city. The baseball diamond is now a sizable crater, centered a few hundred feet behind the former location of the backstop. A careful reading of official Major League Baseball Rule 5.05b2 suggests that in this situation, the batter would be considered hit by pitch, and would be eligible to advance to first base.
Everybody dies. He can move if he can move. First base. Let's go. And since the teams are dead, he wins. That team wins. Wins on forever. Lol. He has a TED talk.
This question comes from Alan, who asks, if every human somehow simply disappeared from the face of the Earth,
Well, first base wouldn't score any points yet. True. I don't know a lot about baseball, but not gonna lie.
how long would it be before the last artificial light source would go out? We'll start with the obvious. Most lights wouldn't last long because the major power grids would go down relatively quickly. Without people, there would be less demand for power, but our fridges and air conditioners and lava lamps would still be running. Fossil fuel plants, which supply the vast majority of the world's electricity, require a steady supply of fuel, and their supply chains do involve people doing things. As coal and oil plants started shutting down in the first few hours, other power sources would get hit with that extra load. This kind of situation is difficult to handle even with human guidance, and the result would be a rapid series of cascading failures leading to a blackout of all the major power grids. Nuclear reactors, of course, don't require a steady supply of fuel. One reactor operator I talked to said that if their core settled into low power mode, it could continue running almost indefinitely. A cube of uranium contains about 6 million times as much stored energy as a similar-sized cube of coal. Unfortunately, although there's enough fuel, most nuclear reactors wouldn't keep running for long. As soon as something went wrong, the core would go into automatic shutdown. Every part of a reactor control system is designed so that a failure causes it to rapidly shut down. This would happen quickly. Many things can trigger a shutdown, but the most likely culprit would be the failure of the power grid. However, plenty of light comes from sources not tied to the major power grids. Let's take a look at a few of those and when each one might turn off. Many remote communities, like those on far-flung islands, get their power from diesel generators. These can run until their tanks run out of fuel, which in most cases could be anywhere from days to months. Off-grid generating stations that don't need a human-provided fuel supply would be in better shape. Geothermal.
Hey Nana 10, I am back. Oh wait, that's not Nana 10. Hey Juan, I am back for 2 days. Hello honey, you miss me for and horse day. What? What are you watching, Juan? XKCD. What if?
Plants can run for a fair bit of time without human intervention. According to the maintenance schedule for the Svartsengi Island geothermal plant in Iceland, every 6 months the operators must change the gearbox oil and re-grease all electric motors and couplings. Without humans to perform these sorts of maintenance procedures, some plants might run for a few years, but they'd all succumb to corrosion eventually. Lights relying on wind power would last a bit longer. Wind turbines are designed so that they don't need constant maintenance for the simple reason that there are a lot of them and they're a pain to climb. The Gedser wind turbine in Denmark
Scott. I want to see that video next.
Maintenance for the simple reason that there are a lot of them and they're a pain.
Yo. Yo.
To climb. The Gedser wind turbine in Denmark was installed in the late 1950s, and it generated power for 11 years without maintenance. Modern turbines are typically rated to run for 3 years without servicing, and there are no doubt some which would run for decades. And one of them would probably have at least a status LED in it somewhere. Eventually, most of the wind turbines would be stopped by the same thing that would destroy the geothermal plants. Their gearboxes would seize up. Generators that convert falling water into electricity will also keep working. An operator at the Hoover Dam once said that if everyone walked out, the facility would continue to run on autopilot for several years. Though if the power grid is down, all that electricity would have nowhere to go. In the end, the dam would probably succumb to clogged intakes or the same kind of mechanical failure that hit the wind turbines and geothermal plants. Battery-powered lights wouldn't fare much better and would all be off within a few dozen years. Even without anything using their power, batteries eventually self-discharge. Some types last longer than others, but even batteries advertised as having long shelf lives typically only hold their charge for a decade or two. Solar power is probably the most promising candidate. There are many off-grid solar-powered buildings, weather stations, and other remote infrastructure around the world. Emergency call boxes, often found along the side of the road in remote locations, are frequently solar-powered. They usually have lights on them which provide illumination every night. Like wind turbines, they're hard to service, and so they're built to last for a long time. Solar panels will generally last as long as the electronics connected to them, and as long as the panels are kept free of dust and debris. The wires and circuits will eventually succumb to corrosion, but solar panels in a dry place with well-built electronics could easily continue providing power for a century if they're kept free of dust by occasional breezes or rain on the exposed panels. If we follow a strict definition of lighting, solar-powered lights in remote locations could conceivably be the last surviving human light source. But there's another contender, and it's a weird one. Spent nuclear fuel. Contrary to popular portrayals, radioactivity isn't usually visible, which is part of why we need warning signs around areas with radioactive materials or waste. Sure, watch dials used to be coated in small amounts of radium to help them glow in the dark, but the glow didn't come from the radioactivity itself. It came from the phosphorescent paint on top of the radium, which glows when it's irradiated. Once the phosphorescent paint breaks down, the watch dials are still radioactive but no longer glow. Watch dials
6 months. What if basically someone over-explaining simple what if questions. I wish we'll get for free power and electricity for free. I like that. That's all I have. Tom Scott is the single most nicest human being on YouTube to have ever existed. I like Tom. A lot of the places I want to go to are because Tom made a video on them. 11 years, 20 years, no way. The second might because correlated, but I don't know. Hello, Quadro 221. Do you know me? It's been our day and week. Yes, I remember. You are an energetic young fellow. Well, I will be back by 9:10 to talk. I need to talk to Quan by 9:10. I think you got that upside down, but enjoy.
However, are not our only radioactive light source. When radioactive particles travel through materials like water or glass, they emit light through a sort of optical sonic boom. This light is called Cherenkov radiation, and it's seen in the distinctive blue glow of nuclear reactor cores. Some of our radioactive waste products, such as cesium-137, are melted and mixed with glass, which cools into a solid block before being wrapped in more shielding for transport and storage. And in the dark, these glass blocks glow blue. Cesium-137 has a half-life of 30 years, which means that 2 centuries later, the blocks will still be glowing with 1% of their original radioactivity. Since the color of the light depends only on the particle decay energy and not the amount of radiation, it will fade in brightness over time, but keep that same blue color. And thus, we arrive at our answer. Centuries from now, deep in concrete vaults, the light from our most toxic waste will still be shining.
Lol.
I got an email from an energy company that
Oh, sorry, I meant to talk by 9:10 with you, Quan. Let me go to talk, not by.
said, "Hi Tom, we own a wind turbine. Do you want to go up to the top of it?" And of course I said yes, but then I asked, could I leave by the emergency exit?
Octopus energy.
And for some reason, they said yes.
This is a 50-meter
The Octopus energy #1 fan. Lol.
EWT turbine, which is capable of producing 500 kilowatts of energy. In blade repair, we have to repair turbines all over Europe. So every day you need to climb a turbine. You shut it off at the bottom, you climb up, you pin the turbine, pin the blade that you're going to work on. You then attach the top, abseil out, and you do your repairs on the blades that you need repairing.
Anyone climbing or descending this ladder has to be attached to a fall arrest system. It's a clever bit of technology. If you move it at a normal speed, it'll move along with you. But if you fall, it'll notice and it'll catch you. Fast enough to be safe, not so fast that it's as brutal as hitting the ground would be.
On the ladder that we climb up on the inside, there is a fixed steel cable, and on this you attach a slider, which is a metal device. You open up a gate inside, this is where the cable runs, and the gate then closes onto the cable, shut the hatch, screw it together, and this attaches to your sternum. So as you're climbing up, this will follow you up the cable, and then if you fell, it would lock into position, it'll brake. That's your braking system. You're always connected by 2 points. Personally, I believe it's a safer job than anything else you can do because of all the backups we use. For instance, it's much more dangerous to climb a ladder 6 foot off the ground than it is to work 50 metres up in the air when you've got all your attachment points, in my opinion.
If you're climbing this turbine, you need a fail-safe, which is one of the reasons there's an emergency exit at the top. Right, here we go.
The emergency descenders come in different guises, but the one
Have you heard the Woman Cheat song? I haven't. I mean, maybe I have. I never heard that. Would you claim top for 1 million? Yeah, I would. I would do it for free, actually. I would probably pay like $10 to do it.
one that's up the top there, we only train with it once every 2 years because it's always the worst case scenario if you have to get that out. It's an inertia.
I wouldn't pay more because I don't have a lot of money, right? But maybe if someone is like, okay, 50, I would be like, fuck it. Okay.
Device. If you just click,
If it includes travel, actually, maybe if it includes travel, maybe $100 I would pay. You take me to the fucking place, blah blah blah, and then take me back for 100.
clip it to yourself,
Let's
you'll
do it.
lower down to the ground under its own steam and you can brake, but generally you'll just hit the ground at a safe speed. You don't train with it very often because in real world you should never have to use it because you've got lots of other things to fail first before you even have to think about using that. There's instructions written on it as well on how to use it.
So step to the left.
Take a step around here, yeah.
Yep.
To access a turbine, you need to do something called your GWOs, which is Global Wind Organisation, and you can't access the turbine and use any of the equipment inside without the training, and that teaches the working at height and how to use one of those devices to get casualties down. And then to do what we do, which is abseiling on the blades, you then need to do something called a IRAT qualification, which is rope access basically. And so it's quite a lengthy process before you're even out there.
There is actually an emergency exit sign up here. I love that.
This is a direct drive turbine, meaning that there's no gearing in it. It's all just magnets up in the donut you can see right at the top.
So this is the centre of the turbine.
That there is, well, the hub and the rotor. It's a giant electromagnet.
Yes. There are very few worst case scenarios where the turbine's going to be fine, but the ladder down isn't. Now, if any of those happen, then yeah, the team here are all thoroughly trained for it. They'll all be able to get down on the emergency descender. But that's not why it's here. The most likely reason for that to be used is for one person. Someone who's twisted their ankle or passed out or for whatever reason can't get down the ladder on their own. Were they right in saying emergency services won't climb a turbine?
Yes, that's my understanding. It would be specific to the injury. If he couldn't move the casualty, then they would have to figure a way of doing it. You'd have to be something serious. A heart attack, you can always get someone down, but someone had a broken neck, yeah, it will be a different scenario.
Oh, look at that view!
So we do medicals to get onto the turbines, and we have to maintain those medicals bi-yearly, and that proves your fitness to climb the turbines, and the
My
medicals are
balls
quite in
would
depth.
be-
So you knew you were ill, you would be fairly irresponsible to go and climb a turbine.
So put
Yeah.
your feet on here.
That's okay to step on?
Yeah, promise you. If you sit
That's so scary.
back, keep your legs straight.
Okay.
Lean backwards. Keep going, keep going. Don't hold on. Don't hold on.
Oh,
That's it, yeah.
oh, okay, that's the nerve-wracking bit.
That's it. Keep going.
Yep,
You're all right, I
I've
promise
got
you.
2 wires on me. I've got 2 wires on me.
That's it.
I've
keep
got
going.
2 wires
and
on
now
me.
walk, but don't bend your legs. That's it. Keep
Okay.
going. Keep
Okay,
going. There you
okay,
go.
I got 2 wires on me.
You can slowly bend your knees a little bit if you want to, if it makes you feel more
Got 2
comfortable.
wires.
That's it.
That's fine. Okay,
Happy?
happy?
See you in a little while.
Okay.
One thing I should mention in voiceover, because I forgot to say it while convincing my brain to switch from trusting my legs to trusting the ropes, there is a way to get someone onto the descender if they're out cold or they can't walk. It's just that I could walk, so I did a standard abseil down the first part.
And that's it. I'm descending. Rigging this up required a lot of skill and training from the folks up there. But to descend, you don't even need to be conscious, and that's by design. All I need to do now is sit and wait until I safely reach the ground.
Yo, that's so cool.
When you actually work on a turbine, the view out the top is always amazing. So when you have a look around, you do remember that, oh, it's a pretty cool job actually.
Thank you very much to all the team at Octopus Energy and at EWT. You can find links to them in the description.
I'm not scared of heights, but I would shit my pants in 2 seconds. Yeah, same. One random eagle. Nope, you can die and scared for 100%. People can scared. No one's scared for 80%. No one's scared, what? I like the googly eyes on his helmet. I like things with views. Like what he said about it being a cool job or whatever. I agree. I would like to work at something where you can see beautiful things. Well, beautiful views. You know, seeing this, you can sort of see why some people like the adrenaline releasing sports. Like you could, have you seen Deep Cave Exploration Competition? I haven't. I'm not sure if I want to watch the Gone Wrong ones. Gone Wrong. Is there a Gone Right? Oops, sorry. Yo, that looks like Minecraft. I watched the Gone Wrong ones. Oh, I think no one here now. Where? Uh,
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Scary Interesting. In this video, we're going to go over 3 more terrifying cave stories. One of these features another section of the tunnel called the Clamp. The first rescuer got to him around 8:20 that morning, almost 4 hours after the dogs led them to the cave. He then called out to Michal a few times and received no response. Then, pulling out a knife, the rescuer slightly pricked Michal's foot to see if he would react, but he didn't move. It was only when the rescuer grabbed Michal's ankle to take his vitals that the reality of the situation became clear. There was no pulse, his skin was cold, and his legs were stiff. He had been dead long before his mother noticed he hadn't returned. As his mother wept in the valley below the cave, the rescue turned to a body recovery. They were determined to get him free so his mother could give him a proper burial. Still using the chisels, the Jura group members inside the cave worked in shifts to remove enough rock from around Michal to get him out of the crevice. The work was painstaking, and it took hours just to remove him from where he was trapped. After that, they had to figure out how to get him through the main tunnel, because most of it was only wide enough for one rescuer to pull on him at a time.
Bro, I can't with music.
This went on for hours until they finally removed him from the cave. Around true cause of death is unknown, but it seems likely it was either due to hypothermia or positional asphyxia. Access to scientists and instructors, specifically those from the cave dive to Hal to at least try to recover it. Now, even though the 2 divers were almost 20 years apart in age, both had a ton of experience. At the time, the Orlando area had only 4 divers certified to depths up to 350 feet or 107 meters, and incredibly, 16-year-old Fred was one of them. Hal, meanwhile, was a law school graduate who spent the start of his career as a private investigator in Atlanta before moving to Florida and opening up a dive shop. He then founded the Professional Scuba Association and dedicated his life to diving. However, cave diving certification was still almost a decade from inception in 1970, so while Hal and Fred had experience in sinkhole and cave environments, neither had the type of training that's available today. And if you're a regular viewer of the channel, you know it doesn't take too many mistakes before a cave dive can become deadly. In fact, just 2 years prior, Hal was exploring the Eagle's Nest sinkhole near Brooksville, Florida, with 2 other divers when one of them got lost in a siltout. This happens when the fine sand along the walls and floor of the cave creates a cloud that can be so thick that visibility goes down to 0. So using up every bit of their air tanks, Hal and the other diver looked everywhere for their lost partner, but they couldn't find him, and his body was never located. That day, however, Hal and Fred's descent
Jesus Christ.
into Emerald Springs was fairly unremarkable. They made it to about 150 feet or 46 meters deep in their search.
See, for example, in my lists of things I want to do, I don't think I am necessarily that interested in diving. I would like to parachute, but diving, not sure.
They made it to about 150 feet or 46 meters looking for the safety vest.
I like diving from a watches standpoint, right? Like what diver watches. I like that the technology was developed for those watches to like resist those kind of pressures, and for the Submariner watch to become so popular, and for that to become like a status symbol. But I've never been like super interested in diving itself, right?
were forced to leave after not finding it. Al then signaled to Fred that it was time to ascend, and as they started toward the surface, they both got wrapped up in the guide rope they were using. Thankfully, due to their experience, they were calm as they addressed the situation, and they had plenty of air time to cut themselves free. Al
Hang on.
Then the very different strategy of seeing if Jacob will fit, and I'm holding on to the rocks so that he can push off my body with his legs, and he was putting a lot of torque on there.
You have to remember, from here up, Dad.
Grandpa doesn't
you got a lot of
approve.
space in there.
Yeah, but
It just looks awful out here. This is literally the worst.
So I'm still running my camera gear in there ahead of Jacob. It's attached to a cord in case I have to retrieve it.
What?
And that's why all my camera gear was attached to that metal rotary cord.
Well, we might need to stay in here to help pull him out. I know it's awful, but Jacob, you have officially gone further than any human in history.
That's a pretty tight squeeze right there. And Jacob slipped in when I wasn't paying attention. Just like that. Right on through. Okay, you need to go in there, and we'll try you turning around and coming out head first. But if you can't, you'll have to come out late. You have to back in the way you came. Okay, and we have to be mindful of taking you out the same way you went in. And if it makes you feel better, I brought a tub of butter in my car. Jacob, I'm going to give you a different camera. Okay? So I had to yell instructions Jacob how to set the camera down, to set it up, how to manage the lights, and this is probably harder than going to the caves.
Oh my goodness! I can see that there. Can you see me? Yeah, wait, let me stop. See?
I can still see you. Yeah, that light's pretty bright in there. Hey, buddy.
Yo.
It's about 7 inches by 10 inches, that hole.
Hey, Jacob, you got everything?
Hey, let me hit you last thing. There. Okay.
20 minutes, you're back there, buddy.
Thank you. I felt absolutely everything.
What did the big one for? Do you want to do the big leg?
Yep.
Okay.
I come out.
Superman style. Superman style.
Superman style, the most dreaded way of getting out of the cave. Stick your hands straight out. But I was able to pull them out pretty easily.
Hold on. Inch out.
Because you can push from one side and I can pull from the other.
Oh, wait, my pin.
Slide them out. He's about 5 feet above the ground there, 6 feet above the ground. I'm on an elevated place, so we're trying to pull him out safely. So he's hanging out of that hole. I couldn't even put one leg through. And I'm not a big man.
Oh, wait, no.
I'm here to keep pulling me.
Just powerful. Never forget.
My butt is coming. Oh.
Just like that. Just like that. He was.
He's hurt.
That was awesome.
Are you injured? Good.
That was so much fun. Oh, we should did it.
We appreciate you watching our video adventures. If you liked what you saw,
Enjoying the darkness. Oh. Okay. That was funny. I prefer those to the gone wrong moments. No gonna lie. That was so much fun. Like, bro, what the fuck you on about? I thought it a girl. Nah, it's just a boy. I would be way too scared to the moment I realize I can't just go back. I thought it can die no oxygen. Yeah, I wonder. Maybe those caves don't run that risk, but I don't know.
Yep, I am standing somewhere windswept and talking about infrastructure. I have a style. Also, that whooshing sound you can hear, that's the other turbine that you can't see in this camera shot. Anyway, power grids. They have to balance supply and demand. I've talked about that a few times in the past here, but as a quick catch-up, if there's not enough power being generated, things break. But if there's too much power being generated, things also break, and arguably in a worse way. There isn't a battery in the world big enough to deal with daily peaks and troughs of national demand, so power grid engineers have to make sure that the power being generated is always close to the power that's being used. There are a lot of possible technologies to help with that balance, and I've talked about some of those before here too. Pumped storage that uses a lake as a giant battery, or even the big lithium-ion setup in Australia that's only caught on fire once so far. But all of those technologies assume that supply and demand will balance each other out over time, usually over a few hours. What happens if you always have too much power? Welcome to the Orkney Islands in the far northeast of Scotland. About 22,000 people live here.
Wouldn't it be something like, I don't know, like, wouldn't you just put fucking Bitcoin miners there, right?
On around 1,000 windswept square kilometres, and they have so much renewable energy from wind and waves and tides that it's genuinely a problem. Solution number one is turn off the turbines.
2013, we were producing up to 130% of our electrical needs. So there can be quite a lot of curtailment on several turbines. There's active network management. The wind turbine will be shut down because the network can't handle the load. There's been a moratorium on any new grid connections. There is potential for some micro generation, but nothing of any scale. So when you're in a place like Orkney, where you have some of the best generation potential, it's a complete waste.
Turning off the turbines isn't a good solution, it's wasteful. Depending on the time of day and year, these islands need between 7 and 46 megawatts. It's almost always windy here, so a couple of big commercial wind farms like this can produce all the power the folks here need. But they've also got 500 domestic turbines, privately owned. 1 in 12 households generate their own power, because why wouldn't you? Once you pay the installation cost, you'll probably turn a profit year after year after year. One of the things I struggled with writing this script is that there is so much going on up here. There's an electric hybrid plane being tested at the airport. There are tidal power experiments, wave power experiments. Every type of renewable energy, almost, is being tested here. There's not much solar. And there's a backup. For the very rare days when the wind is calm, there are interconnector cables that can pull up to 40 megawatts from the Scottish mainland. But okay, they're generating a massive surplus of power, and they're connected to the British national grid, so surely solution number 2 is use those interconnectors. They can just sell the extra power back to the mainland. Well, those 40 megawatts that the interconnectors can handle, that's not actually all that much.
The interconnector cables we've got are small. We reckon there's 2,000 megawatts of tidal and wave generation around here. We reckon there's 17,000 megawatts of offshore wind within a couple of hundred kilometres of here. The interconnector was built for an old day when you used to burn coal and send us electricity. That's gone. We don't do that anymore. We now need to be in a position where we've got a better way to get the power from these islands away.
If the new interconnector is built, it'll carry enough power for all the turbines Orkney could reasonably put up in the next few years. They could power most of the Highlands of Scotland. But building that new interconnector will cost £250 million. National government requires that the islands approve plans for enough new turbines to make sure it's going to be used before it's approved. That's all still in the balance politically. So solution number 3 is that the islands could start using more electricity. There's already a larger share of electric cars here than anywhere else in Scotland, but most vehicles still use petrol or diesel. That could change. There's still a lot of oil heating. The ferries, vital for getting around, still burn fossil fuels. The transition is a slow process. No one's going to scrap a perfectly good car or heater or ferry unless they have to. But there are plans. And Orkney's also had a hydrogen fuel system for years to help soak up a bit of the excess power.
We're producing hydrogen from effectively spare electricity. That's why we started. Taking electricity, putting it into fresh water, and it splits the water into hydrogen and oxygen. We're getting rid of the oxygen and we're just capturing the hydrogen. We're compressing it and then we're using it in this fuel cell. We have ferries that operate within the islands. One of those ferries is able to be powered by this fuel cell when it ties up alongside at night, and it saves it running its own engines, or it saves it drawing power from the grid. This is just the start of something. This equipment is experimental, and believe me, it's not efficient. This is not the best way of doing it, but we're finding our way into new territory. We try and unearth some of the challenges so that when we scale this equipment up, then those faults will be polished out.
These islands are years ahead of the rest of the world. This is the test bed. This is a small version of the changes that the whole planet is going to make. The transition to renewables is happening faster here in Orkney than, I think, anywhere else in the world, but as you travel around the islands, it just seems normal. Nothing's visibly changed, but the lessons that they're learning here will hopefully pave the way for the rest of the world.
It's a bit wasteful. Let's see, Control F, Bitcoin. No one talks about Bitcoin. I don't know, maybe the miners or something. Octet fine. So what we watch, Quan? How about we watch something? Oh no, here we go again. And now it's 2 hours speedrun video. Speed. Sometimes I feel like I need home to anyone else translator. I understood that. I think I watched it at 2x speed. The amount for it, Bitcoin, dude. Come on. I don't know. If you have like free energy, Bitcoin is literally free, right? You need some capital expenditure for the miners themselves, right? For the ASICs and all that. But after that, it pays off. I guess the problem would be like political or something. Kodiak AK, is this Alaska? I thought AK was Arkansas. I guess Arkansas is AR. Bro, imagine living here. It's the middle of fucking nowhere. Women's Babe, scary. May 2024. Kodiak Public Library. Kodiak High School. Lol. I like these fucking 4x4s so much. It looks just like a regular American place, to be honest. I feel like one don't more for 3 minutes. How about a 2025? I like free energy from my home. Who doesn't? Hey Kwan, why are you not mourning? What do you mean? Moving? I don't know. I'm looking at the screen. I'm kind of talking though, right? Talking is moving. So many trucks. Noodles. Yeah, the problem with this is that if you live somewhere like here, everything is so annoying because everyone knows who you are. After like 6 months, everyone knows who you are, I guess, right? That has to be pretty annoying. $250 reviews. Not much atmosphere. Bro, you're in a 6,000 people town in the middle of a fucking Alaska. Well, not even in the middle, in like the fucking left of Alaska. Prices were too high for the quality of the food. Let's see where she is from. Melody Mena. Click. Kodiak, Arkansas. Kodiak, Tucson, Arizona. $5 a beer. $18 a seafood curry. Holy fuck. $22. $13 for. Lunch for two, $30. Okay, 15. Okay, that's not that bad then. 5 for beers is a lot, but common nowadays. I don't know what stream you're watching, but he is very much moving. No, he more, but one. What? Okay, guys, I think I'm going to close stream now. It's already 6. Thank you for being here, and let's see. Tomorrow is Wednesday. I think tomorrow regular day. Well, not regular day. I will stream outside, but tomorrow regular stream day probably. And I will watch the movie maybe the next day. I don't know. But if I watch the movie tomorrow, I will put it on the community tab or whatever. So yeah, thank you for being here. Goodbye. Good night. Not that I'm being one.